or something like it. It sounded very smart and sensible. He ate those eyes and a number of things, the total bill being 3 rupees, right? So now, after doing this thing, they went on just eating, right? And according to Kasim, Mali sounded very smart and sensible by doing the act and just just coming up with a very smart line on the spot without even it shows like he had imagination. That's what he wanted to show with this line. And he ate those eyes and a number of things. Not only those eyes, he ate other things as well, according to Kasim. And the total bill being 3 rupees was the total bill, right? I mean, it's a considerable amount after having a lot of food, right? And just those eyes and number of other things. The cost is 3 rupees. But don't remember, right? Every day, Jagan leave Mali somewhere around 5 rupees for food to be purchased from the canteen. We'll cover that later, right? Great boy, said Jagan, gratified by his son's verse as well as his gluttony. What do you mean by gluttony? Gluttony means the greed, right? I mean, like he was eating those eyes and so many other things, right? So that made Jagan happy, right? Oh my god, yes, good, right? So he's a great boy, good boy, said Jagan. Gratified means happy, feeling thankful, right? Or feeling kind of satiated, happy, right? Gratified, satisfied, kind of. Yes, that's the word. Uh, I will reimburse you. Remind me at the shop tomorrow, said Jagan to Kasim. I'll reimburse you means reimbursing means yeah, I'll pay you the 3 rupees back, right? I'll pay you whatever the debt, whatever you had paid for the another bhavan, I'll pay you back. That's what we call reimbursing, right? Just paying back, repaying. No hurry, no hurry. I'm not in a hurry. I'm not in a hurry. Says Kasim. You can take your own time to return it to me. Said the Kasim, right? You can take your own time, right? It's up to you. Just like take your time. Not in a hurry. Uh, it seems difficult to keep up to the point. Keep to the point. There being no precise point to keep to, no main subject to return to. I mean, like their conversation at this time of the night. Now, still they are talking in the midnight, right? And it seems difficult to keep up to the point. I mean, like now they are. It's like talk is all over the place, right? That's it. There's no central focus on this talk anymore. And there be no precise point to me. Precise means exact point. Precise means exact point to focus on this speech. And no main subject to return to. Now the subject, it seems like he knows his what's going on, and the curiosity of Jagan is, mitigated. It's gone away, assuaged, right? And now they went on rambling until the taluk of his gong sound 12 o'clock. So this conversation, this rambling, ramble means it's in they went on rambling until means they just aimlessly walking, called is rambling. But here the idea is like they are aimlessly talking, right? So that's the literal meaning of rambling here. Rambling is it's like aimless walking, but here it's like aimless talking, right? So I told you sometimes the dictionary meaning of the words differ according to the context, right? So the rambling thus until the taluk of his gong sounded 12 o'clock. Now you remember, right? The first taluk of his gong sounded, and then now again somewhere around 12, it's again reminding the people of Malgudi. The gong, I told you, gong is a big drum, right? So it's been sounded again just to give the people that it's like a time machine, right? In time in your some central clock pieces in your house, right? They have this option of just giving certain times, just giving the idea to people certain times. The clock struck 12 sometimes, right? Same way, it's done in a bigger scale by the taluk office, right? Uh, it boomed through the silent town, and Jagan said, even burglars will have gone home to sleep, but still I have got nowhere. I don't know why he cannot write and also read all his college books. It's the father, right? I mean, like, now he says, father says to Kasim, Jagan says to Kasim, even the burglars will have gone home to sleep. I mean, like, but you know who's burglars, right? People just, What's the difference between a burglar and a thief? Thief just steals things. Burglars just break houses, right? So even a burglar at this point of the day, right, has gone to sleep, but still we are talking, right? And we are talking, and we are just trying to figure it out, right? And we still can't come to a conclusion. We are still talking to each other and just trying to find out. And why this boy cannot write? I mean, like, what's the problem with doing this? What if he want to be a writer? It's okay, he can write, right? But at the same time, he can go to school. Why he can't do the both things at the same time? What do you think? What do you think? I mean, like, does Smiley seriously want to write? Uh, Say goodbye to college, or something else is going on here? I mean, like, why can't he do the both? Isn't that a very sensible question to ask, to be asked by the father? Yes, I think so, right? So, sir, students have many talents, right? They can do two or three things at the same time. When I was a student, right, I was doing scouting, I was doing some other extra curricular activities as well as studying, right? So we excelled in all three. So I mean, like, it's what's the big deal, right? If you want to write, okay, of course, go ahead writing, and you can still go to school and do the studies, right? Why you have to stop one thing completely just to continue the other thing, right? That's the sensible question. And when this was raised, he said that one interfered with the other, explained the cousin. Oh, say, and I mean, like, cousin has asked this question, and Mali's answer was like, Mali said that one thing interfered with the other. I mean, like, if you are going to study, it will disturb the writing. He can't full time engage in writing. On the other side, if he going to study, he can't do the writing because it's disturbed, right? So it's vice versa, both ways around. So he, according to Mali, he can't do the both. And listening to this after a brief pause, after a brief silence, right? After a brief silence, Jagan suddenly asked, "Hey, was Shakespeare BA?" A question no one could answer in that place, right? I mean, like, suddenly Jagan asks, Jagan has this habit, right? Sometimes he asks some kind of dumb questions, right? Kind of stupid, kind of nonsensical questions, doesn't make any damn sense, right? Here is such a question, right? Was Shakespeare BA? Was it Shakespeare? And like, did Shakespeare got his degree, bachelor's arts degree from his college, right? We all know, like, you may not know, but Shakespeare was educated in King's College, right? But the problem with BA, Bachelor of Arts, is, I mean, like, at that time, I mean, these qualifications are not assigned, right? There's nothing called Bachelor of Arts as a qualification at that time, right? I mean, like, Shakespeare was a natural talent. He was a natural playwright. He was a natural artist, right? He didn't go to school just to learn this art. Maybe in the school in King's College, he may have learned other things, but still, it's a very ridiculous question, right? BA, Bachelor's Arts, these kind of qualifications were kind of introduced to this context, Indian context, after this kind of post-colonial experience, right? I mean, like, that's where the significance of these things came to the surface. Other than that, right, most of the old Indian, right? I mean, like, can you ask this question from Homer? Is Homer a Bachelor of Arts? Homer is the first person who started literature by writing poetry, writing Iliad and Odyssey, the great epics, right? It would be a ridiculous question, right? Can you ask this question from Christ? Is Christ a BA? I mean, like, does it make sense? Is Buddha a BA? In the same way, you can ask, is Shakespeare a BA? Kind of a dumb question is this, right? Suddenly, they can ask these things, right? A question that no one could answer in that place. I mean, Jagan had no clue. I, I mean, definitely Kasim has no clue. Kasim even was not educated. How can he answer these kind of questions, right? The Kasim say, why go so far? I mean, like, why you are going back to Shakespeare? Shakespeare belongs to the 15th century, right? It's 1500s, 15th century. It means, like, and Kassim explains why go so far to ask this question. I know Kalidas never went to college, right? Kalidas is a very, I mean, like, respected literary figure, just like Shakespeare in Indian context. So he says, Kalidas didn't go to school, no man. He never went to school, right? He never went to college. Says, Cousin, right? Cousin don't know about Shakespeare, right? He knows about Kalidas, so he speaks about Kalidas. Because there was no colleges 3,000 years ago, said Jagan. Yeah, he didn't go to school college because 3,000 years ago there was no colleges in India, right? Same thing. So, I mean, like, they are talking about a past, right? Way too far a past, and these literary figures and their educational qualifications, right? They doesn't make any sense, right? So how can you know whether he now when Jagan says like nonsense, right? The Kalidas was 3,000 years ago and there was no qualifications called BA at that time. You know that, right? Then Jagan asks, then Cousin asks, how can you know whether there was colleges or not? How are you sure there are colleges or not? And this is aimless talk, right? This is what we call entirely aimless talk. Now they don't have point to talk on. The talk carries on for the sake of talk itself, right? It's nothing else, right? A college or no college, I know Kalidas was a village idiot, and a shepherd until Goddess Saraswati made a scratch on his tongue, and then he burst into the song Siyamala the Kandam, Dan the Kam, right? Siyamala Dan the Kam. Right? It's like a tongue twister for me. Just stating this italics itself, right? So, what according now Jagan said, like, what nonsense, right? There was no colleges 3,000 years ago. Then Cousin immediately says, like, college or no college, I don't care, right? College, he went to college, or there was no colleges or colleges. But I know Kalidas was a village idiot. Kalidas was just a stupid village guy, right? But, and he was a shepherd. You know, shepherd is a person who take care of their cattle, who cares, they take care of their cattle or sheep, or, you know, those are shepherds, right? So, he's a village idiot and shepherd until Goddess Saraswati made a scratch on his tongue. Goddess Saraswati has certain ways of blessing people, right? I mean, like, they can, you know, these divine figures have certain way of, we call them just like, in other words, I mean, like, Goddess Saraswati made a scratch on his tongue. I mean, blessings from these gods come in different zones. Some can come to you in your dreams and inspire you and give you certain qualities. So after that, your life entirely changes. When you wake up, like, you have this divine powers with you, can do things, right? That's the one way. Now here it's different. Kalidas again has made a scratch on his tongue. Saraswati Devataviya කාලිදාසගේ දිව හූරලා දිව දෙවියෙක්නේ අප දෙවිය වුණා දිව හිරුවට පස්සේ මොකද වෙන්නේ ජීවිතේ සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම වෙනස් වෙනෝනේ දිවෙන් කට කටින් කතා කරනකොට දිව යූස් වෙනෝනේ ඒතකොට දෙවි දේවතාවියක් දිව හිරුවට පස්සේ කටින් කතා කරන ඒවා කියන ඒවා ඔක්කොම කවි වෙනවා ඇතිනේ just like automatically the things that comes out from the mouth automatically turn into poetics, right? Like poetic qualities comes. That's what it says in his language, right? This inspiration. It can hari පුදුමයි නේ නිකන් අපි දන්නවනේ just like පාරේ යද්දී නම් පිස්සු බලන්නේ හපලා ගන්නෙ නේ එහෙමනේ අපි දන්නේ ඒකට අපි ගිහලා ඉන්ජෙක්ෂන් ගන්නවා ගුරියට ඉන්ජෙක්ෂන් එකක් මේ for this what you call it මොකද පිස්සු බල රෝගය right for rabies you know ඒ බල්ලෝ කෑවනේ they පාරේ යද්දී ඇවිල්ලා විකුවොත් මොකද වෙන්නේ you get right godly qualities, right? Life changes. Yeah, the same thing here, like Kalidas in Yohurla, Saraswati, right? And from that moment, what happens was a scratch on his tongue, and then he burst into that song, Siya Mala Dan the Kam. But anyway, right? This poetry at that moment suddenly, sporadically, spontaneously jumped up out from this Kalidas's mouth. Suddenly, this village idiot shepherd suddenly changed into a literary figure. See what Saraswati can do, right? And just like I just give a bite, right? And just make me into a literary figure. But anyway, and wrote Sakuntala. That's not the end of it. Then Kalidas went in to do something bigger than that, kind of a literary achievement. It's like a magnum opus. I told you magnum opus is one of the best things an artist can produce, right? He wrote Sakuntala and so on. And I know the story. It says Kasim. Kasim gives this talk, this explanation to Jagan, right? I have heard this often enough, said Jagan. Yeah, I have heard this enough times, right? Many times I have heard this story, right? I mean, like, these are the exact village idiots, right? Talking this babbling stuff under the statue, right? Came to talk something and now talking something else, right? That's what we understand as the readers. But anyway, here come. Uh, if you know the story, you must believe in it, and he hope that someday Mali will be another Kalidas, said Cousin soothingly. If you know that story, imagine something like that happens to Mali. I guess, in other words, like suddenly a person can just get divine inspiration and start doing things suddenly from out of nowhere, out of blue. He can be an artist, he can be a totally different person. So you should have, you if you know that story, the idea of that story, the motto of that story, the theme of that story is that people can change suddenly, drastically, right? I mean, like, so why don't you believe those things can happen to Mali as well, right? These are just village talk. Now, I mean, like, inspiration doesn't come, maybe inspiration can come suddenly, but you have to have practice, you have to have discipline, you have to have a talent, a certain way how to focus that inspiration just to turn it into a creative thing, a creative artifact, a book, a poem. Or I mean, like, poems doesn't come suddenly. Sometimes poems are just cut and chop and cut and chop, and they have done so many drafts before this work comes in. And the first place, do you think R.K. Narayan wrote this novel? He sat down just like Kalidas in a one chair and just came at like after 10, 15 or 2 days, he stand up finishing this vendor of seeds. No, I mean, like, normal people, when they do things, they take time, they cut and chop and edit and do this thing. They do write a manuscript, then they just re-edit it. That's how a creative work comes into life. That's the discipline, right? So they are not concerned about the discipline, they are only concerned about the idea. Like, inspiration can hit you suddenly, right? But putting that into work is a totally different discipline. That's why we need to study. As here, he need to have his basics, but here they don't know these things and they just talk for the talking sake, right? That's what you have to understand. Jagan, at the earliest opportunity, applied his eye to the keyhole of Mali's door. Now, Jagan is at home. Now the scene is over, right? They are no longer under the lowly statue. So Jagan, at earliest opportunity, when he came home, peeped. Applied eye means peeped into the keyhole of Mali's door, which remained shut most hours of the day. So this door is almost closed, right? I mean, Mali is a very reclusive, right? Reclusive means a person doesn't like to interact. So he doesn't like to interact with his father, right? So he always closes his door, right? So most of the hours of the day it's closed. The boy seemed to be avoiding him. Yeah, father understand now. Boy doesn't want to talk to me. That's why he's just shutting himself up behind the doors, right? Jagan prepared the breakfast and left it on the whole table. As usual, he made the breakfast, kept in the table, and also tucked a 5 rupee note under the plate so that the boy might eat whatever he liked the rest of the day. I mean, like, apart from making the breakfast, he leaves a 5 rupee note under the, I mean, like, on the table, right? Under the plate. I mean, like, 5 rupees at that time in 1960s India is big money. His pocket money is big money. Imagine your father, right, gives you like a 5,000 note each day for your uh, food and everything, right? We say, like, forget 5,000, we say, like, gives like 3,000 or 4,000, right? Something like that. 5 rupees is big money, right? At that time, they're talking about 1960s post-colonial India, right? Money value is really high, and purchasing power of Indian rupees higher than Sri Lankan rupees. So we are talking about big money. I mean, like, if you have 4,000 rupees each day, right? You can go to the KFC, have the best meal, right? And have a chicken bucket and just have some good drinks, and still you have some leftover, right? Pocket money is leftover. Now, just imagine, just to give each day 5 rupees to his son, right? How much money should his father earn as a businessman, right? So you get the idea here, right? What are we talking about? That's why I told Jagan have big cash. Jagan doesn't show it, but Jagan's a big businessman. He has money, right? Like he's a rich person. Okay. Uh, so that's the thing. Like 5 rupee note under the plate, so that the boy might eat whatever he liked at the rest of the day. Like so, he won't feed. So he just, I mean, like this is one way of just corrupting the student, right? I mean, like corrupting Mali. I mean, like if the father just give this much of money, I think it will also add to the corruption because expectations grow, right? එහෙම සල්ලි දෙනකොට 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 මොකද්ද වෙන්නේ? Just like even you get corrupted, right? You don't understand the value of money. You don't understand the effort that is required just to earn this money, right? So you think and you take it for granted. It's like you think like, okay, the father should provide me these things always, right? That's a bad thing just to happen. But anyway, it's happening here, right? Because of love, Jagan isn't critical about those things. So by mistakenly these things happens. Mali would go out and return home at some hour at the night and shuts himself in. I mean, like he comes in the night, he goes in the morning to school, maybe, right? In the night, he comes and just shuts himself in. Jagan went about sweet making without any outward sign of agitation, but inside he was all torn up. And he just like, as a father, right? He went to work, but even at his work, he's inside, which very much agitated means moved. He is very much upset, he's very much unsettled, agitated, and without inward sign, right? Without, but inside he was all torn up. I mean, like he doesn't show he's agitated, he doesn't show the others he's upset, he doesn't show the workers he's upset, but inside he's all torn up, means he's all broken, right? He's not happy. That's the idea. He could not understand where his son spent the day or what he ate. I mean, like he has no idea because he doesn't converse with his son. He has no idea what the boy ate, where the boy was, how he spent the day, what happened to him, right? Things like that were totally out of the radar, right? So these are not conversed, these are not communicated between the father and son. He had never suspected that his zeal for education was going to ruin their relationship. I mean, like he had never suspected. I mean, Jagan never thought his zeal for education, like his passion that he wanted his son just to get a BA. His son, he as a father, he wanted his son to achieve good results, just to be a great person, just to be a very educated person. This passion, this zeal means this kind of enthusiasm. Jagan never thought that would ruin the relationship between him and Mali, right? Because as a father, he wanted his son to have the best results, but he didn't thought that idea would ruin the relationship between them. He went to make it up with his son. He wanted to make it up with his son means he wanted to make it up means he want to, I mean, like mitigate. He want to reconcile. He want to compromise this unhappiness with his son. In other words, he want to make a friendship with his son. He want to make a bridge between the son and him as a father. So he want to fix things, right? So that's what he with this means, like he wanted to make it up for his son, right? So through the keyhole he saw the light burning in Mali's room. Now we know, right? He was peeping through the keyhole. He saw the light is burning, this lamp is burning, right, in Mali's room. He saw Mali sitting on a stool with his elbow on a table. Ane kolla, just like an elbow on a table, right? Elbow on a table, right? Just like this. He was sitting and just like brooding, right? Just brooding. What is it? Brooding. Write down. Brooding means thinking, overly thinking, right? It's like contemplating. Something like that, right? Elbow on the table and just brooding. He felt disappointed that the boy was not writing. And father felt like, oh my God, what does this boy do? He's not going to school anymore and he's not even writing, right? I mean, like he's a little bit upset about it, not writing. He had imagined the writer burning the midnight oil. I mean, like father wanted to see the child working in the midnight. I mean, like just writing and writing and writing and writing in a kind of a madness, in a kind of frenzy, in a kind of a passion, right? That's what his father wanted to see. I mean, he didn't see that. He saw a boy with his elbow on his face, right? In his chin. Yes, that's what it says. Uh, and brooding. He's not working. He's thinking in a kind of melancholic way, right? Uh, and he imagined the writer burning the midnight oil and littering the table with sheets of paper in delirium of inspiration. Right, I will underline this, right? I will take a pencil, not highlighting, just underline it. Littering the table with sheets of paper in delirium of inspiration. What is a delirium? Delirium is a frenzy. Frenzy means, it's like when it's kind of a madness, kind of a happy, kind of a joyful madness. ඒ කියන්නේ දැන් සමහරුන්ට දැන් ඔය ක්‍රිකට් ගහද්දි එහෙම අපි මම මේක කියන්නේ just like example you will understand what is delirium, right? Some batsmen start to suddenly play sixes all around the ground, right? එතකොට අපි කියනවා මම දැකලා තියෙනවා ළමයි කියනවා ඒකට ආච්චි වැහිලා වගේනේ ගැහුවේ ඒ මැච් එක. In other words, that's the delirium, right? I mean, like ආච්චි වැහුණා මොකද වෙන්නේ? Just like that's things like that happening, right? So that's what Jagan wanted to see. Like this Mali is like writing and writing and writing in a delirium, in a passion, in a kind of a frenzy, with inspiration, getting these feelings, getting these ideas, and just writing and writing and writing on till the midnight, right? Just like the God has kind of inspired him, or just have given the God's blessings, right? Saraswati has blessed. Saraswati that diva hiruwama ehema nevenne, right? So littering the table means like like littering means all over the place, all over the table. Imagine he has these sheets, these half sheets, or things, that papers he has written, and it's all over, the scattered. Littered means filled with it, right? With table. Sometimes even you got wrong idea, you just crumple up the paper and throw away, and still write. So that's how you see these things in the movies, right? Anyway, that's what Jagan wanted to see, but he didn't see those things. He saw something, a boy, right? Very melancholic, brooding, just like he's staying like this on the table, right? The walls of the ancient house reverberating with a new song to be on everybody's lips for 1,000 years to come. Oh my God, right? The expectations of Jagan thought, right? He wished to see this boy writing like Kalidasa. Kalidasa suddenly bursting into inspired songs, suddenly coming up with something creative, very inspiring, right? And the walls of the ancient house reverberating with a new song to be on everybody's lip for 1,000 years to come. I mean, like suddenly Mal is writing something very very dense and very enjoyable, Shakespearean like, or like Kalidas, right? Some very poetic quality stuff, good quality poetic stuff, right? That people will read forever and ever for 1,000 years in the future. That's what the father wanted to see from the son. It's too much of expectations, right? But anyway, that's not what he saw. He saw something totally different, right? We know that. In other ways, right, it's like a kind of exaggeration, kind of hyperbole, right? In part of R.K. Narayan, but it's still like humorous, right? It's kind of ironic. In other words, in an ironical way, in a kind of exaggerated way, he's saying that the father's expectations are very big towards his son, right? Either he wanted him to have a BA, or if he's writing poetry, he wanted him to write like Kalidas, right? Now this boy is still a boy, I mean a school kid, and how can you expect things like that from a child, right? So these are things that you have to think as a reader, right? But the picture that presented itself to him was different. But what he saw, what his eyes saw, his eyesight, the visual imagery the father got, Jagan got, by peeping into the keyhole is totally different. The boy seemed to be moping in dejection, right? Moping, right? If you don't understand moping, underline it. Moping means be apathetic, gloomy, or dazed. I mean, like apathetic means no taste. I mean, like there's nothing happening, right? There's not, no wish. I like it's like there's nothing happening. It's like very moping. It's gloomy. It's dark. It's kind of a dazed situation, right? And a dejection means it's kind of a unhappiness, severe unhappiness, and a boredom. කොල්ලට මේ සංසාරේ පා වෙලා වගේ සංසාරේ කලකිරලා වගේ මූ ඉන්නේ. මොකද මට තාත්තා දකින්න ආසයි. මූ මේ ආවේශ වෙලා වගේ ලියනවා දකින්න තමයි තාත්තා හිතන් හිටියේ. අඩේ මෙන්න මූ මොකද මේ කරන්නේ මාලි මූට මේ අර නිකන් අනිච්චවත සංඛාරා වගේ right මෙතන මේ ගැලපෙනවා මේක ඇස්සේ මේ නිකන් just like brooding and in a kind of a dejection. That's the idea here, right? Basically, it was time to pull him out of it. Father thinks like, no, I have to shake things up. I have to rattle the cage a little bit and just wake up this sleeping dog a little bit, right? So he thinks like, I'm gonna pull him out of this dejection, out of his boredom, right? He has to do some work, right? I as a father, I has to interfere right now. He thinks, right? And Jagan realized the time had come for him to forget college education and get completely identified with Mali's fantasies. Now that's a good thing. I mean, like father Jagan thinks like, okay, forget college education. I'm not concerned about this boy's college education. Stop. If he do not go to college, let it be. But still, right? But still, he has to do his writing. I want him just to identify with his writing, and I am trying to help him, right? Mali's fantasies at least until he came out of his gloom. So he wanted to help Mali in his writing, right? And help Mali come out of his rut. I mean, like his place where he's stuck, right? Jagan beat upon the door with both fists, stooping and squinting at the keyhole, having proved irksome, right? I mean, like now Jagan beat upon the door. Jagan banged on Mali's door, right? With his fists, right? With his fists, right? Stooping means going down, and squinting means just like a squinting eye, right? It's like squinting at the keyhole with having proved irksome. Again, I mean, after having bala bala, bang bang bang, gala gahana than that, right? Have proved irksome means this is very irritating, right? It's like this making noise in Mali's door, right? Mali's room was proved to be very irritating, very annoying, very provoking, right? What happened? Why are you banging down the house? Asked the boy, opening the door. Right, right. What happened? Why? What's going on? Why are you bringing down the house? I mean, like, ගෙදර වහලා බිමට ගේන්න තරම් හයි දොට ගහන්න කියලා. Just like that's the idea, right? Why you're bringing down the house, right? Sometimes you also bring down the house, right? I know certain kids have this habit, just like turning out like the volume of their woofers and volume of their music instruments and I'm like music this setups and everything. So the whole house, the roof will come down, right? ඒක අහල පහල ඉන්ටර්නෙට් බෑ ගෙදර ඉන්න ඉන්ටර්නෙට් බෑ මේකේ සද්ද වැඩි, right? Something like that. So he was banging like the door like a just like a gorilla, in other words, right? Right. Okay. Anyway, Jagan pushed his way in, announcing. Jagan, without any permission, pushed way in means like suddenly came inside the room of Mali. Right? We first time see something, a kind of authoritative act from the father, right? Always he was scared of his son, but now he pushed his way inside. Means he suddenly, without any permission, bang came into Mali's room, announcing, "Boy, I like your idea. Come on, let's talk about it." He suddenly says, like, "Boy, I like your idea. I like that you want to be a writer. Come on, let's talk about it." Suddenly, father is in charge, right? He breezily paced around and sat on a stool. I mean, like breezily. I mean, like like a wind, he walked and sat around. I mean, like around this room and sat on a stool. Father immediately sat on a stool. The boy followed him mutely. The boy came behind the father without making any noise, silently, mutely, right? His misgivings were not totally forgotten. I mean, like misgivings means doubts. There's another word for doubt. It's called misgivings. The boy's misgivings are not totally forgotten, right? In other words, right, boy is little bit skeptic about what is he up to. තාත්මේ මොකටද මේ ඉන්න හදන්නේ කියලා බලන්න තමයි. දැන් කොල්ලටත් ටික කවුරුනේ මේක පාට කාමරේට කඩන් ගන්න මම මේ අදහසට කැමති පොඩ්ඩක් කතා කරමු කියනවා. කොල්ලට ටිකක් ඇද වෙලා right දැන් මොකද්ද මේ මොකක්ද මේ ඉන්න හදන්නේ අප්පා කියලා right, just like yeah, totally forgotten. Jagan smooth his own brow and corners his face so that there should be not the slightest trace of frown, and managed to give his face an affable grin, exuding an impression of total approval. In the other side of the father, right? The father also make up appearance. It's not his natural reaction, but father wears a mask here, right? Just as a way he want to be very understanding and very close to his son. He want to show that thing. He just want to say, okay, I'm supporting your idea. I like your idea. Let's talk about it. Do you need any help? So he want to build a conversation. So he, with effort, with desperation, right, have an affable grin. Affable means a friendly grin, right? When you are also in very uncomfortable situations, right? You hate, but still you have to wear a smile, right? Just to cheat the other people, right? And that's the situation we are here, right? The father is wearing a smile, right? And just like just want to talk with the child, right? Exuding an impression. Exuding means sending off, just like Peter Karnakin, just like exuding, just like showing up, just like letting out an impression of total approval. So he's friendly, he's smiling, right? They started at each other uncomfortably for a second, right? The very start between this conversation is little uncomfortable, right? Because they are both skeptics. Just like, කවදාකවත් නැතුව මේ කාමරේට ඇවිල්ලා මොකද්ද මේ නටන නාටකම කියන පොල්ල හිතන හිත ඇතුලෙන්, right? That's the natural thing, right? He never talks like this. මේ මොකද්ද මේ වෙන්නේ යන්නේ, right? And then the son came over and sat on the circular table with a marble top. Okay, this now there's in the center of this room, Mali's room, there's this stone table with a marble top, right? So Mali sat on that table too. Jagan asked soothingly, Jagan asked in a very soft tone, right? Do you want a good table? Shall we replace the table? In other words, right? We'll take off this stone table and replace it in a different table. What for? Asked the boy. Poised between doubt and trust. I mean, like, he has no idea, like, what's going on, right? මේ තාත්තා මොකට දෙන්නේ කියලා හිතාගන්න බෑ. Hey, මොකද, right? Just like, what for we are changing the table? The slightest pressure at the wrong place could topple him over the wrong side. I mean, like, if a wrong word came from the father, can make this conversation out of joint, right? Can destroy this good conversation. I mean, like, if there's going to be a conversation, if there's going to be some kind of a talk today, if a wrong word came from the father, everything's destroyed. So father is extra careful here not to pressure up or just bring the slightest pressure at the wrong place, right? නාඩියේ වැරදි තැනින් ඇල්ලුවොත් ලෙඩා මැරෙනවා දැන්, right? Very careful, right? Slightest pressure at the wrong place could topple him. Topple means turn upside down, toppling, topsy-turvy, right? Topple him over the wrong side. And Jagan said, writer needs a lot of space for his manuscripts. There are pressures, son, right? This table doesn't have much space, right? As a writer, you need a lot of space to keep your manuscripts. Manuscripts are the first drafts, right? When you get a first draft, this is where the inspiration comes from, the idea comes to you. Then what you can do is you leave it a little while and then go through it, revise it, do the editing, right? That's how a writer writes. And so that's father knows those things, right? Anyway, he knows these things, and because he was studying for BA, right? And I'm not amazed that father knows these things. So he asked, shall we think about replacing a new table? The reason was we have a lot of manuscripts. The boy was evidently pleased that the new table was not being planned for college books and notes. Uh, I mean, like, the boy was happy, right? Okay. New table, not for college books and notes, but new table for manuscripts. Ah, sounding interesting, right? You can't get But again, who has told you about me? I would call the monkey and kiwi. The boy asked from the father, right? These things become known. The writer has to come out. He was amazed by his own fluency. I mean, like, father nicely butter ups, right? And our father nicely controls the situation, take control of this situation here. These things become known, right? The fact that you want to be a writer can't be hidden, okay? Right? Someday it has to come out, right? I mean, like, writer has to come out, okay? There's a single saying, right? Hangi hangi වෙස් බැන්ද hangi hangi වෙස් බැන්දත් නටන්න වෙන්නේ නේ කියලා කියන්නේ. ඒ කියන්නේ කොච්චර හැංගිලා නැටුම් ප්‍රැක්ටිස් කරාට අරි නටන්න වුණාම දන් නටන්න වෙන්නේ එළියේ. නැත්තම් පෙරහැරේ, right? ඒක කාටවත් පේනවනේ. Right? Writing is the same thing. Even you write hidden. එළියේ ඉඳන් ලියන්නේ නැති උනට හැංගිලා ලිව්වත් පොත ගැහුවට පස්සේ කාටවත් කියවන්න පුළුවන්, right? තම පොතක් පබ්ලිෂ් කරාට පස්සේ ඒක අම්මට පෙන්වන්න නැතුව තාත්තට පෙන්වන්න නැතුව අල්ලපු ගෙදර මිනිස්සුන්ට පෙන්වන්න නැතුව අනිත් ලෝකයේ අනිත් කට්ටියට පෙන්වන්න පොත කියන්න බෑ. ඊට පස්සේ හැම එකකටම පොත කියවන්න පුළුවන්, right? කියව අකුරු දන්න ඕන මිනිස්සුන්ට පොත කියවන්න පුළුවන්. Just like that's the idea. So this is like the writer has to come out. He has to do thing. When he does thing, it is the private. I mean, it's common property. Everyone can approach it, right? He was amazed as his own fluency. Like Jagan was very happy how he's tackling this situation, right? In his mind. Oh, I don't care either way. I don't mind. I don't mind. I don't care either way. Like means anyway, I don't care, right? Says the son. Uh, I mean, like what he meant is like how you got the information is not my business. I don't care, right? Jagan looked about. There was no sign of a book in the making. Jagan just looked around the table, this stone table, right, with the granite toppings. And no sign of a book coming. No sign of the son is writing, right? The marble top was clean. Yeah, the marble top, this top, shiny top of this stone table is clean. I mean, like there's nothing in it. It's totally clean. Even though the college books have been swept out of view, even no college books has to be seen, right? And on those days, there was college books on this table, but not a college book to be seen right now. It's gone too, right? And curiously about their fate, he felt a moment's curiosity about their fate, but checked himself. I mean, like, father was really disturbed about the fate of the books. මූ පුත්වලට මොකද්ද කරන්න නැත්තේ? පොතිය කෑවද? ගිනි තියුද? Right? But he didn't talk a single word about those books. Why? School books. Why? He don't want to just make this conversation destroy. He's very careful. He speaks very selected words not to offend Malik, right? Just like he's a good father, right? What do you think? Is a good father or is it a weakness? What is the situation if it was your father? Will he act this way? I mean, like, does Mali's father has reasons to act like this way? Think about these things, right? Not his business anyway. I mean, like, father thinks, Jagan says, no, I'm not going to talk about these school things right now, right? In his mind, he says these things to himself. Do you want me to buy white paper? Asked the father. He's going to supply the child, right? Do you want to buy white paper for you? Have you got a good pen for writing? I think I had better get you a new desk with a lot of drawers. I should buy you a new desk with a lot of drawers so you can put those things, manuscripts or whatever you stuff in the drawers. Peace and understanding were returning after all. After all, now, I mean, like, Mali is also listening, right? Mali is not answering back. Mali is not getting angry. Mali is very attentively, like, paying attention to what his father is saying. So that's why father thinks, like, peace and understanding at least is returning after all. I mean, like there's a kind of a talk. Father is talking, the son is listening, right? And this all this time, the son is not listening, right? When father starts talking, son is leaving. Now at least he's listening. They could grope their way through the world of letters now. I mean, like now father feels like okay, they can grope their way. Groping means what? If you don't know the meaning, groping means touching in the dark and finding the way. අඳුරේ අතපත ගාගෙන යනකොට කියනවා groping, like finding your way in the dark is called groping. It's a one meaning, right? That's what relevance to here. Groping have several other meanings. We leave that aside, right? Their way through the world of letters now, each thinking that other might know better. I mean, like now they are just in this darkness, right? Of not knowing, not having an aim. Father and us, father and son is talking their way into kind of a unknown, uncharted territory, right? And each thinking that other might know better. So father thinks that son knows about writing much better than him, and son thinks like Mali thinks, okay, now it seems like father knows, right, what a writer wants. Father knows what writers get inspired of. So Mali thinks like, okay, father knows something about writing, that's why he's just interfering, right? So that's the idea here. Better. What are you writing now? Asked Jagan with the humility of junior reporter interviewing a celebrity. And just like a, you know, just like a, these talk shows you see in the YouTube nowadays, right? Uh, I mean, like people are asking questions from celebrities. This kind of celebrities come, right? The YouTube එකේ තියෙන මේ ඔයාගේ පරණ අතීතේ කොහොමද? අනේ මං සෑහෙන දුක් විඳලා තමයි මේ තැනට ආවේ. හැම එකම දුක් විඳලා තමයි ඇවිල්ලා තියෙන්නේ මේ තැනට. කට ඇරියොත් කියන්නේ දුක, කට ඇරියොත් කියන්නේ වේදනාව, කට ඇරියොත් කියන්නේ අතීතයේ කුරිරුයි, අතීතයේ කටුකයි, ඕක තමයි ගහන තැටිය, right? So in the same way, but forgetting, you have seen these YouTube videos, right? So Jagan, like a kind of a interviewer, a YouTube interviewer, imagine, right? Like interviewer, just like interviewing his celebrity. Mal is the celebrity here. Mal is in the other side. Ask a question in a kind of respectful way, right? What are you writing now? What are you planning to write now? A novel, said the boy condescendingly. Condescendingly. What do you mean condescendingly? In a patronizing way. In a condescending way means in a patronizing way. In a kind of disdainful way. සිංහලෙන් කියනවා අල්ලි ඔළුවෙන් උත්තර දෙන්නේ, right? කොල්ලනිය මම නවල ලියන්නේ ඇයි අහන්නේ, something like that, right? That's the tone here, right? In a condescending way he's saying, right? Father says, wonderful, so right, this is wonderful. Where did you learn to write novels? How did you get the inspiration to write novels? Mali did not answer the question. Jagan repeated it. උන්දින් හක්කුලුක් වෙන ප්‍රශ්නේ මේ අහන්න යන්නේ, right? තාත්තා අහන්නේ දැන් කුල්ල දන්නේ නැහැ මේ. We know as right readers we get, I mean, like this is humorous, right? Say Chekhovian irony. He's a master of Chekhovian irony. R.K. Narayan entertained us, right? Here between the father and son conversation, and yes, right? So he asked like, where did you learn to write novels? තාත්තා අහන පුතාගේ are you examining me? Malia asked. What? Are you judging me? Are you examining me? Right? His response, that Mali. Oh, no. I'm just interested. No, I'm not examining you. I'm just interested. That's all. What story are you writing? I mean, like, I'm interested to know the details of your writing career, right? What you're planning for your future. What story are you going to write? I can't tell you now. It may turn out to be a poem after all. I don't know. Said the son condescendingly. I mean, like, are you like, I can't tell you now. Them again, where anything. සමහරට කවියක් ලියන්නත් පුළුවන්. දන්නේ නැහැ. Right? But don't you know what you are going to write when you sit down to write? Asked the father. Don't you know? I mean, like, aren't you confident? I'm like, as a writer, do you plan what you're going to write? before you sit to write. I mean, like, do you have an idea you're going to write a poem or a short story or a novel or something else before you start down to write? I mean, like, it's a very severe question, right? It's like, I mean, these questions you can ask from R.K. Nara and he can answer, right? You can ask this from, I mean, like, any celebrity writer. You can ask this from J.K. Rowling, right? But they'll answer. Uh, but a very young guy who haven't even started writing anything, right, has a pretext that he want to be a writer, and you ask these kind of questions, could kind of blow the head of the child, right? I mean, like, it's too much, too heavy, right, just to write ask these questions. So that's why he asking, like, are you planning, pre-planning before writing? No, said the boy haughtily. And එහෙම එකක් නෑ, එහෙම scene එකක් නෑ ඉතින්, right? Haughtily. It's not like frying sweets in your shop. ඉතින් ඔයාගේ මේ කඩේ මේ සීට් හදනවා වගේ ඉතින් නෙවෙයි මම ලියන්නේ. ඒක වෙනම method එකක්, right? ඒක ඉතින් කියන්න බෑ දැන්, says the boy, right? This was completely mystifying to the junior reporter. I mean, like, if Jagan is the reporter, right, taking these details from asking these questions from the celebrity who is Mali, right? තාත්තනේ දැන් මේ ප්‍රශ්න අහන්නේ පුතාගේ, පුතා තමයි celebrity, තාත්තා තමයි reporter, right? But it was completely mystifying. I mean, like, he's confused now, right? Completely mystifying to the junior reporter. He said pathetically, in a very helpless way, in a very self-pitiful way, right? Pathetically, in abject way. Tell me if you want me to help in any matter. Right, okay. Now they are changing the tune and says, like, okay, tell me, son, if you need some help, right? I'm here to give you the help. The boy received that in a sullen silence. Okay. Though Karan කියනෝනේ තාත්තා. Right? Something like that. Boy received that means, like, boy got that in a sullen silence. Sullen is kind of moody or showing in a brooding ill humor, right? It's sullen. Just like not in a good mood, right? මොකද්ද මේ ඇවිල්ලා මෙතන කරදරයක්, මෙතන මේ මල විකාරයක් අහනවා, මෙතන තාත්තා කියන මම උදව් කරන්න කැමති. Right? Something like that's the mood here, right? You have to understand the friction between the father and son. Are your friends also writers? Then our father want to know, right? Father asks these questions like, are your friends also writers? Are there any other friends of you who want to be writers? Now there's something you have to understand in this conversation. The father is the one who's asking these questions, right? Numerous questions. Certain questions father is just throwing to this kid, right? Normally what happens is, in reality, is the kids are the ones who are asking these endless questions from the father or mother, right? Even a very small ones, right, has this childish habit of just asking, තාත්තේ අහස නිල් පාටයි, තාත්තා කියලා දෙනවා. එහෙම වෙන්නේ ඇයි? ඊට පස්සේ ඒකත් කියලා දෙනවා. අහස ලොකුද තාත්තේ? ඔව් අහස ලොකුයි. අහස කොච්චර දිගද තාත්තේ? ඒකත් කියලා දෙනවා, right? I mean, like, what's the point of these children asking these endless questions from their father or mother, just to trace, just to find out the coordinates of the father's desire, or I mean, like, father's likings. ඒ කියන්නේ මේවා අහන්නේ, මේ ප්‍රශ්න අහන්නේ තාත්තා ආස වැඩි ආස මොකටද කියන එක එයා මැප් කරගන්න, එයා ප්ලෑන් කරගන්න තමයි පොඩි කට්ටිය මේ වගේ ප්‍රශ්න වැඩිපුර අහන්නේ තමන්ගේ දෙමාපියන්ගේ. Now here it's the other side around. I mean, like, Jagan is asking all these nonsensical questions from the son as if to get the idea how this idea of writing came into him. Is he well organized into writing, or whether he has, like, any other plans for his future of being a confident writer, like how this idea hit him to be a writer. That's why he asked, like, are your friends or also writers, right? So everything has a sense here. There's a psychological depth here if we just pay attention, right? Enough. How can they be? The boy asked, like, what? Oh no, they are not writers. How can they be? They are only readers and want to get their degrees, right? My friends are just readers. They are just passive people. Just read what other people have written. They only want to read. They don't want to write, right? They read other people what other people have written to get their degrees. They my students, my friends want only degrees. They don't want to write. That's all. Uh, said said the child. And Jagan rigorously means strongly, kind of vigorously, strongly, uh, with energy, suppressed means limited or thwarted or stopped his approval of those friends' attitude. I mean, like, Jagan want to say to his son, yeah, friends are very correct. This means like you should do the same thing as your friends. I mean, the friends are correct. Jagan knew that in his heart, but he suppressed, means he controlled not saying that idea to Mali's face. If he said that thing, right? So that's why his father, he didn't speak those things directly to Mali. So he suppressed that thought, right? Hari hari. යාළුව නම් හරි යාළුවන්ට තේරලා තියෙනවා යාළුවෝ කරන්නේ හරි දේ තමසෙනේ මෙතන පිස්සු නටන්නේ right that's what he want to say to his Mali's face but he didn't say it right he that's what he says. Jaeger rigorously suppressed his approval of those friends and me. The boy added, the boy said, they are all ordinary fellows who are no good for anything else. Just common people. Common people, what they do is right, they read what others have written. They just follows the what other people have set. I mean other people set rules, common people follow the rules. Common people don't question. Common people just like cattle, just like follow the shepherd. They don't have imagination. So Mali is in other way condescending. Mali hitano තමන් අනිත් අයට වඩා විශේෂයි කියන එක තමයි මෙතන අදහස, right? So that's what we see here. I thought you were fond of your friends, Jagan said, seizing every opportunity to acquire a better understanding of son's mind. I mean, like Jagan immediately said, like, I thought you were fond of your friends. I thought you like your friends. Now with this idea, it seems like you don't like your friends, right? So he says, I thought you were fond of your friends. Jagan said, seizing means capturing, holding every opportunity to acquire means get a better understanding of his son's mind. He had thought of the friends were dear to the boy. I mean, like he had thought, father had thought the friends were very close to boy. I mean, like this. I mean, like he was going and associating friends under the lowly statue. Can you remember they were talking about actors, their fashions, things like that? I mean, like with all these things, father told like he had good friends at school. It seems to father, right? But now with what he says, it seems like he doesn't have good friends. But for him, like for friends are very ordinary people. He's the special person, right? The way they, yes, there you go. The way they stood beside the statue, leaning on their bicycles and talking loudly. That's what I explained right now. I mean, the way they were behaving, right, under the statue talking. Father thought father had the concept that he had good friendships, good connections, social connections in the school, but it doesn't appear the same way, right? It was also a slight matter of relief, and for Jagan had the fear that his friends might be misleading the boy. I mean, like, in other way, Jagan was a little bit happy, right? This boy doesn't listen to friends. This boy has no serious friendship. As a parent, he had a wicked pleasure of that. Why? Because sometimes friends can mislead his son, right? නරක යාළුවෝගේ ආශ්‍රයෙන් කෙනෙක් නරක වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඉතින් Tamanට නරක යාළුවෝ තිය හොඳ යාළුවෝ හරි නැත්තම් තමන්ගේ ආශ්‍රය නරක වෙන්නේ නැහැ, right? You got the idea, right? So that's what makes father little happy here, right? So he was little in a way he is little happy, right? A slight matter of relief. It's a matter of relief. It just took the burden away because father always thought like this idea came from somewhere else, somewhere outside. So it didn't occur to him that this idea is totally genuinely Mali's idea to be a writer. Okay, but Jagan had a fear that his friends might be misleading the boy. Now it was some satisfaction to know that he was going astray entirely through his own individual effort. Effort means astray means going out of an aim. It's like wandering. We call straying, wavering, right? It's like we call, if there's an aim, going away from the aim is called straying, right? Uh, yes. So now the aim here at school is to be graduated, take a BA, or now Mali is straying from that aim, educational aim, following his own dream, right? On his own. How this idea of being writer came inside to him, no one knows. It's his own idea, right? So father now knows no one has put this into Mali's head. In other words, this idea was auto-generated inside Mali's head, right? We take a highlight and highlight these three lines. For 20 years, Jacob reflected, he has grown up with me under the same roof, but how little I have known him. Very important line. We'll highlight that thing, right? This for 20, highlight from for 20 till little I have known him to that part, right? Three sentences. For 20 years, Jacob reflected, he has grown up with me under the same roof, but how little I have known him. So Jagan thinks like, how little I know about Mali when he lived with me for 20 years under this roof, right? And now what you know should know about this instant, suddenly the narrator of the story, right, R.K. Narayan, says Mali is 20 years old right now. Okay, Mali is a grown, Mali is almost an adult, right? Young adult. I mean, like, after 18 years, you are considered adult, right? So 20 years old now, he can make his own decisions, right? So he's grown up right now, suddenly, right? But the boy has been up to something. He will count for something sooner or later. I mean, like, father thinks like, of course, of course. Now, boy has something in his mind. I mean, like, something is happening to this boy. Some idea is going inside this boy's mind, right? He's up to something. He has been up to something. He will count for something sooner or later. So he will just be something sooner or later. There's a saying in English: life starts somewhere around the age of 17. I mean, like, the life, real aims, real ambitions of a person starts somewhere around the age of 17. I mean, like, for example, I can give you, for example, in old days, right? Aravinda Silva just wanted to be a cricketer when he was just 17 years old. Right? Then he joined the school cricket team and played cricket, and just finally joined the Sri Lanka cricket team and became a world famous international cricket player. So the idea here is life starts at somewhere around 17. It's a very famous English saying, right? So now the boy is 20 years old, right? So definitely life has started somewhere. So something is sparking inside this boy. We don't know what is this, right? It says like he want to be a writer, but according to the father, the boy is up to something. He will come out being something sooner or later. He'll be a successful person. He'll come up. He'll find his own way in life, right? Sooner, later, thinks the father, right? So, in other hand, you have to think like when the boy is somewhere around 20 years old, they are extremely independent. They are extremely confident. They think they are the center of the universe. එයාලා අවුරුදු 20 දැන් ඔයාලත් එහෙම නෙමෙයි දැන් ඔයාලා තෝලේ වලට කිට්ටුනාම ඔයාලා හිතන්නේ මුළු විශ්වයම තමන් වටේ තමයි කරකෙන්නේ කියලා. අම්මත් කරකෙන තමන් වටේ, තාත්තත් කරකෙන තමන් වටේ, ඉස්කෝලේත් කරකෙන තමන් වටේ, පෘථිවියත් කරකෙන තමන් වටේ. ඒ කියන්නේ තමන් නැත්තම් මේ ලෝකේ කරකෙන්නේ නැහැ කියලානේ ඔයාලා හිතන්නේ නේ. That's it, right? I know. How do you know, sir? Because I'm a teacher. I have seen it, right? I know you guys, right? So this is fiercely independent age, right? තමන් පොර කියලානේ හිතන්නේ මම පොර ජාතකයෙන් ඉන්නේනේ. I like මට වඩා පොරක් නැහැ තවත්, right? මම තමයි පොර. මම පොර, right? So in at this stage, it's very hard for parents or even the outsiders just to mold or talk. That's why this father is struggling. This growing up pains of Mali is never rightly understood by the father. So that's obvious here, right? Okay. Now we'll go. I saw in Ananda Victon a competition for novels, says boy. Now Mali is replying, right? I saw in Ananda Victon. Ananda Victon is a kind of a newspaper, kind of a magazine, right? I saw Ananda Victon a competition for novels. Mali explained they were they will pay 25,000 rupees for the best. Father, the best price for the novel is like 25,000 rupees. This is 1960s. 25,000 rupees means like big, 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 big bucks, right? I mean, like, imagine like 10 lakhs today or 15 lakhs, right? The first price is like 15, all right? It's like, if you see this, Obada Lakshapati, Mamada Lakshapati was the first price, like 20 million, right? Luxury signing, right? Something like that. Just imagine this, like 25,000 in today's money, in 1960s money, is something like today's money. Always just do that calculation, right? So you get the idea. So it's big money, right? To win from a competition, right? So he thinks like, okay, that's the prize money. Now father immediately asks, on what conditions, right? How can you participate in this? Like, how are they giving this kind of money as a prize, right? It must be sent before September 30th, that's all. And a coupon in the magazine must be filled in. It's simple how to take part in this competition. Is you have to cut this, what you call this coupon in the magazine, Ananda Viktan magazine, right? So in Ananda Viktan. And send it, the manuscript, before the September 30th. That's it. That's how you enter the competition, right? Says Mali. Jagan leaned over to study the dates on the calendar on the wall, and this was just May. And Jagan leaned over means like Jagan tilted on his chair and started calculating the calendar. Oh, this is May. Now, how many months we got? Like May, June, July, August. So, like five months are there for this competition to start, right? So he has 5 months to do his writing and write a novel or novella, right? Just to enter into this competition. I know, snapped the boy. I have 5 months. Yeah. You don't have to do the calculation, Papa. I know the calculation, right? It's just like 5 months, right? Have you begun to write? Asked Jagan timidly, like very cowardly. Have you begun to write? Patanga Padilla. I am not the sort to show my story to anyone before I finish it. I will not show my story to you before I write my story, right? Says the boy, right? Atavaliyan ඉස්සෙල්ලා මේ එක එක්කෙනාට පෙන්නන පුරුද්දක් මගේ නෑ. කොහොමද ඒක? Right? What's the story? Jagan asked, persisting. Persisting means constantly asking, like insisting, persisting, right? Constantly imploring, just asking information, like, what is the story about you're going to write, right, for this competition? The boy shrank away from him, repeated. I mean, shrank away means this boy got back from this father, right? Right? Just like the boy shrank away from the father and repeated and said again, "Are you examining me in an ominous manner? What are you judging me? Are you examining me? Asking this nonsense? Like, how many questions you're asking me? What is this?" Right? In other words, right? You have to understand this situation. Are you examining me in an ominous way? Means in a kind of a dark way. He was asking this from his father. Oh no! It's not like that. It's not that. Me, right? Just like no, it's not like that. You don't believe me, I know, said the boy half despairing. See, you don't trust me, That's why you're asking these questions, right? You don't believe me, I know, said the boy half despairingly. Well, if you don't know despairingly means this with desperation or despair, with kind of unhappiness, kind of a dissatisfaction, right? That's the idea. So